And we're live. Yeah. Oh, man. It must be Thursday. It must be 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Doing this thing. Tell me more about that. Hi, everybody. This is the time when we give everyone a minute or two to trickle in and show up. I know there's thousands of people on their way right now, so we want to make sure we have at least a couple thousand before we officially get started. Don't want to. That was a joke. Cool. If you're here, say hi, leave a comment, leave your name. We'd love to see sort of like who's here and all that kind of jazz. So, hello, good morning. And it's 11 o'clock. We'll give it another kind of second here before we officially start. Yeah, and we'd always love to hear like who's here, what company you work for, where you are located in the world, things like that. Okay, cool. Oh, Carrie's here. I know Carrie, because, she's on my team. Hi, Carrie. You're wonderful. One last time. All right, Jones. It's 11 o'clock, so let's get officially started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tell Me More About That. I am Galen. This is our weekly live format every Thursday at 11 a.m. Talking about the Culture Drop topic from this week. Culture Drop is the weekly email that goes out on Tuesday mornings from me. And this week's topic goes around micromanaging and sort of tips around how you can stop micromanaging people and sort of like the impact of it on teams. So excited to get into that. Esmeralda, hello from Austin. I was just thinking this morning about how I miss Austin. I would do just about anything for a Torchy's brush fire taco right now. Good Lord. Torchy's tacos, a little hot dotty burger, man. Those are the days. Remember when everyone had jobs and I could just fly around the country and enjoy different cities, and yeah, those were good times. But that's cool. All right, so every week we do a poll on our Instagram channel. That's just some random kind of poll. This week was, what would you rather do, dishes or laundry? Hi Julia, thanks for tuning in. So dishes or laundry, and I'm very surprised at the results of this poll because people said they would rather do dishes 69% over laundry 31%. Are you crazy? I hate dishes. It's fine, but dishes are not my favorite thing. Laundry's like, it's fine. It's hard to put away, but like actually doing my own dishes is a pain in the butt. So yeah, I'm curious too. Like Esmeralda, people that are here, like, what's your jam? Yeah, now is not the time to come to Austin, definitely. Yep, hopefully soon, I agree. I don't feel like I'm going to be going to very many cities this year at all, but dishes all day over laundry? What? Laundry is like get a pile of stuff, throw in a thing, turn it on. You're crazy, but it's fine. No judgment. It's fine if you would rather do that. Okay, so the format, the way we do Tell Me More About That is it's a combination of sort of like the topic from this week and then an Ask Me Anything kind of format where people can just like ask anything about leadership or teams or me personally, whatever. Michelle's here. Hello, Michelle. There's so many steps to laundry. There's only one step. Do laundry, put it away. That's two. You're right. There's a lot. I'm getting out of control here. A vote against dishes. Both are yuck. Yeah, Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for showing up. Good. Okay. Cool. So, and what we do is we'll take the questions that came in over social media and around the topic specifically around micromanaging first, and then we'll get into the like Ask Me Anything kind of questions and other things that are there. So, and people can, if you're here, also like chime in with a question around micromanaging or teams, or just like an Ask Me Anything kind of thing is cool. And we'll like get to those. So, and this week's topic was around, like I said, micromanaging. And the video this week was this sort of like the three things that I think are so important, which is, in terms of talking about like how to not micromanage. And I think the first most important piece of that is just the communications around asking people like, what do you need from me? What kind of support do you need from me as a leader? What are the like optimal conditions for you to be the most engaged, most productive possible? And then as a leader, ask for those things and make that happen, right? Give people the environment that like allows them to just thrive and for you to stay out of their hair and let them just do their jobs. And part of that is, I think, a step back too with micromanaging is like the first thing I think all leaders have to start with the premise that they're that the people that you have working for you are trustworthy, like that they're accountable and responsible, that they're doing their jobs. Like, you should not make your employees have to earn your trust. I think that's really important because it's like you should fully extend trust to these people that you chose to hire for your team. So like, did you make a good hiring decision? Yes, then fully trust that person until they do something that gives you a reason not to. It's like starting from the premise that like this person is 100% worthy and deserving of my trust until they do something to prove otherwise. But the second thing as well is like asking people and giving them what they need. The second thing was just around like finding other ways to measure people's productivity. It's like, checking in about like ranking a log of every single thing you did all day long, or just like these fake optics, like the appearance of being busy doesn't mean getting work done. And I think it's important to figure out like, how can we measure, what things can we measure for this role or this person's job that tells us that they're doing their work and getting stuff done, and then just measure those things. Are they getting projects done on time? What's the quality of their work? Like, are they meeting deadlines? It's like, let's focus on those things, that data, instead of fake optics or having people like log and check in and basically have to prove to you that they're working. And the last one I think is important, which is around like not punishing your best employees for like the poor behavior of your worst employees, which a lot of companies and leaders and managers make this mistake of doing, is creating broad sweeping policies of having to check in or doing certain things that are just, that get put in place because you have a couple bad apples or a couple poor performers, where you punish everybody on the whole team, to like have to check in or do some kind of thing. I had an example of like a salesperson. I have a colleague who works on a sales team, and their manager is like incredibly micromanaging, and they put all these systems into place because of the like bottom 10, 15, 20% of their sales team that were not being productive, and they put all these things in place that affected everybody, even their like top 2, 3, 4 salespeople, which is like ridiculous to have them waste their time and feel like they're being punished. So, good. All the piles of laundry. One day, can we see the stereo? I mean, that's it. It's just a receiver and a record player and some speakers. But I got a bunch of sweet vinyl behind my head. Cool. All right. So, and I was talking about this with my team too, about like, and we had a really good question about like, how do you have a conversation with your manager, with your leader, that they are micromanaging or that you're feeling micromanaged, which I want to get into. But I think there's two important pieces about micromanaging. One is like the tactical systems in place for it, right? Is like the reason that leaders micromanage, I think, for the most part, is because they want to make sure people are getting their work done or doing it right. And a lot of it falls back to like, you need to be a better communicator, right? You need to be able to set clear expectations of what people need to get done at what time and what it looks like, and like have that clear communication up front so that you can just stay out of somebody's way and then let them come back and do it their own way. Acknowledging that like no two people will do the same job the exact same way. It's like, let people do their own process. It's like in sales, or what if there's something easy to measure. For me, I'm like, if I'm a salesperson and I'm hitting my goals and crushing it or whatever, and part of that means every day at 2 p.m. I take a 2-hour nap, who cares? If I'm hitting my goals, if I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing, like, get out of my way. Like, let me do my own process. Let me be successful in this role my own way, as long as I'm getting my work done. And like, as long as we clearly establish, like, what does success look like here? What are the objectives? Like, what targets do I need to be hitting, etc. And as long as I'm hitting those things, it's like, I don't want to hear from you. It's like, stay out of people's way. And I think that's so important, because there's two pieces of, like I was saying, around micromanaging. One is like the systems and the process of it, but the other one is the impact of it. When people feel micromanaged, they feel like they're not trusted by their boss. They feel like they're having to like be babysat, and like, people don't need to be babysat. They're perfectly great adults. And if you have somebody with a performance issue or whatever, like, go to that person directly and have that conversation with them. Don't micromanage them, and don't micromanage the whole team. Great. So I want to talk about how do we, how do you have that conversation with your boss? How do you like bring that up to your boss who you feel like is micromanaging you? Because that is such a challenging topic and such a hard conversation to sort of tackle and address. This also has a lot of dynamics and nuance, because it really depends on that leader. Nobody likes to think themselves as being a micromanager, and nobody wants to hear that. Even people that are extreme micromanagers would like indignantly defend that they are not a micromanager. Like, nobody wants that label. And so in terms of how do you have this conversation with a leader, with a manager, I think that one of the things that's helpful is to like sort of remove that label. But in terms of how I would address that conversation, so if it were me, I had a job, I felt like my boss was micromanaging, I would go in, again, which is how I think all conversations that are important, that need, like these kind of serious, challenging conversations, need to happen in cold blood. So while I'm feeling micromanaged and heated or upset about it, I'm not going to like bark at someone or have a conversation that's like emotionally heated. I'm going to go in cold blood, meaning like when everything is fine, is great, and go sit down with my leader and just be like, hey, I'm having this experience around some aspects of my job that I want to talk to you about. I want to pick your brain. I want to get some insight from you and sort of like talk through these things because they're, I feel like they're impacting me in terms of productivity or whatever. And I want to talk about this. I want to get your perspective and hear what you think. And putting them in a like more receptive space, right? You're not coming in saying, you're micromanaging me, I hate it, you do this and you do this. When you come in accusing people of something, they get defensive. And depending on the like emotional intelligence of your leader, they might not be super receptive to that conversation. The truth is, if they knew how to not micromanage you, they would already not be micromanaging you. So they have some blind spots around probably usually self-awareness or whatever. And then getting into that conversation, I would stay away from labeling things as being micromanaged. I would just say these certain systems or these processes or these things don't feel super efficient to me. I feel like that having to fill out this log to track my movements or whatever takes this much time every day. So in a week, right, if that takes me 20 minutes a day, in a week I'm wasting over an hour of time that I could be more productive doing something else. And pointing to like specific examples just to say, what I thought would be helpful here is talking about what is the objective, like what's the reason for this particular process or system, and like maybe there's another way we can do that feels like more productive or more efficient for me, and getting to the root of like, why is this specific system in place for you? Like what is that there to solve for? And like maybe there's another way we can do it. And maybe it's just something that you just feel like this is micromanaging, that you feel like you don't trust me and that's why I'm having to like report these things or prove what I'm doing all day long. But I think that like addressing that to say, here's the experience I'm having, this is what this feels like to me. And maybe some of that is part of like, a real honest conversation to like ask for some feedback, to be like, do you trust me? Like, do you trust me to be productive? Or is there anything I can do, to make you, to put you in a space of believing that like I am trustworthy, I'm getting work done or whatever, to like point to, is there something about what I'm doing that I can do better for you, or whatever, to like change this dynamic for you, which again, it's like having that be as collaborative as a conversation as possible is great. Because if you come in accusing somebody, the outcome of that is usually not great, especially if you have a shitty leader who is not emotionally intelligent and sort of like isn't receptive to hearing those things. And it's okay, I think, to be a little bit direct, to be like, these certain processes or whatever, the experience I'm having as a result of that is that the story I'm telling myself is that you don't necessarily trust me to get this work done, or like the work I'm doing isn't up to the caliber that you want, and so like let's talk about those things, like the root issue of that. Or I think it's okay to also be like, it has a feeling of being micromanaged, like you're having to like breathe down my neck to like check everything that I'm doing, and my thought is like, is there something else I can do, or a conversation we can have that like where you don't feel like you need to be as involved or whatever, and just like get your take on that. What's happening for you? What's the objective here? And I think that like focusing on a solution to be like, let's, if my work was done, if I'm hitting these deadlines or I'm doing these things that are measurable, maybe we can like back off on some of these systems or processes for you. How would you feel about that? And I think one way, if you're presenting a solution to your boss, it can also be like, I have an idea, I have a proposed solution that I want to like run by you or see what you think of this, is like, this would look great, like this experience would feel really great to me if it looked like this, very specifically, right? Get rid of these logs or do whatever. And as a result, like, here's what I'll turn in instead, or here's how we can do this instead. But I think proposing the idea of, can we try this for a month? Can we try this on like a short-term basis and just check back in a month from now, doing it sort of like my way, and then both of us have a conversation to be like, did that work for you? Did that work for me? And if it doesn't work, we just go back to the way things were or find a different solution. But not proposing something that feels really permanent, I think, can be really helpful. it's a lower risk option for a boss who might not be receptive to that, to say, let's change this permanently, as opposed to like, can we just try this for a short period of time, check back in, and then like have a conversation on how's that working for you, how's that working for me. So just a couple of different ways. I know that's a hard conversation, and the dynamics of who is your leader, what's your relationship with them, how receptive are they to those kinds of conversations is all across the board. Some people are like terrible and difficult and challenging, and other leaders will be really receptive to that. So there's a challenge. I just want to check in and see if there's questions and things that came in. Succinctly describing the one about apples should not ruin the bushel issue. Yep, totally. Like addressing things directly with with the person who is low performing, or getting to the heart of the of why that put in place. Lack of self-awareness is key. Folks ought to know that they're micromanaging. Yes, for sure. Government work, super micromanaged, mandated to monitor quality, and of course use of taxpayer dollars. Incredibly difficult to battle micromanagement in this field. Totally. Yep. And I think when some industries or some places are like, there's so much oversight in terms of what you're watching and like people's time spent on certain things. And hopefully you can get a leader into a space of being receptive, to be like, hey, the experience I'm having with this doesn't feel great, and this is kind of like why. Here's a proposed solution. Here's like, what if we did it this way? Are you open to a conversation around that? Like, again, focusing on kind of the objective at the end of the day. But yeah, it's different for if you've got a government job or smaller business, huge corporation. There's a lot of dynamics at play. But Norman's saying like, maybe that's the problem. The relationship rapport is the root cause, not the micromanaging. Again, it's a symptom. I think so too. I think that you have leaders who are great at clearly articulating expectations and like, this is how to crush it here. This is exactly what I need from you. Need less micromanaging. And I think that in terms of self-awareness for leaders, if you find that you have to micromanage because your people aren't doing what you want on time, or they're not doing it right, the quality of work, like that's a look at yourself, because chances are somewhere back in that process, like you don't have the capacity to avoid that, right? The reason that you need to do that is because you have not made great hiring decisions, right? You've hired people that weren't the right choice for the role. They're not right. You've got the wrong people in the wrong position. And so like looking at your hiring process, are you being selective enough? Are you setting somebody up for success? And like, are you hiring right? And the other thing is, if you notice that projects aren't getting done, or the quality of work, whatever, it's like, it's also an opportunity to like look at your own communication style. And maybe the beginnings of projects need to have a written overview of like, this is the purpose of the project, this is how long it should take, this is what I expect, like this is what it should look like. Something to keep track. But the more the more skill that you have in communicating clearly what is expected of people, the less that you need to micromanage them. And the psychology again of that is, people that feel micromanaged feel resentful, they feel deflated. It's shitty. It sucks to feel like my boss doesn't trust me and I'm wasting all my time just proving to them when I'm working, or they're like in my hair with this project. It's like, if you want to do this yourself, then ask for a change of position and come do my job. Otherwise, like, get out of my way. But it's hard, and I know that different leaders have different space for that. Anyways, really important conversation. Simply, it's about trying to help others not feel micromanaged despite being mandated to micromanagement. Slippery slope. Yeah, cool. I agree. It's tough. And I think that like the root of all these kinds of things always come back to, can we have a really honest conversation together, right? And in the most ideal workplace, for any employee to employee, employee to leader, leader to employee, you can just go and sit down with someone and say, hey, this thing that's happening doesn't feel great, and I want to talk about that. And for that person on the other end of that to be like receptive, just to be like, cool, let's talk about that. What does that look like? Tell me more about that. If those were the kinds of conversations we could have as coworkers, as leaders to employees, etc., it's like it would solve a lot of this stuff, because that's just like looking for solutions, being willing to navigate and like move through those conversations to be like, what could look better for you? What is possible here? Is there any way we can make this happen and have it be a better experience for you? Is key. So yeah, totally awesome. I love these kinds of conversations. I know they're tricky, and it's hard to give like a one size fits all answer, because some leaders are pretty receptive, other ones aren't. It's just all across the board. But yeah, it's good. Okay, so just want to like crack into a couple other things to get done. Obviously, one of the things, and were there any questions or anything in the Q&A? Cool. And we've gone on talking about this. I know this is a thing, but in terms of, I normally do like a watch, listen, read list kind of thing. Obviously, Hamilton, I don't know if if everybody's already seen it, but it's so good. I saw it live a couple times. It translates to video. It's so good. So if you haven't seen that yet, highly recommend it. I'm not a musical person. I usually find like a huge cheese factor in like, we're doing this thing and then we just like break out into Sound of Music. I'm like, it's so corny. And Hamilton's is like the rap battles and stuff. It's like the anti-musical. It's so good. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Oh, and this week's affirmation, because Carrie on my team runs the affirmation destination. That's the at affirmation destination on Instagram. Today's affirmation is, when I look within, I am home, which is cool. And they do like daily affirmations or weekly affirmations that are just positive and reflective, and I like that one. So cool. All right, great. I'm going to wrap it up because we've been going for a long time. Thank all of you that showed up with different questions and the conversation and chiming in. Next week's topic is for the culture drop is having angry conversations in your head with other people that aren't there, and just like a little bit of a brain hack around that. So another kind of great juicy topic for people. Esmeralda, you watched it 5 times already. Yeah, Hamilton. It's pretty good. Cool. So, and again, Culture Drop email goes out every Tuesday morning at like 7 a.m. Across the globe with a different topic. It's like usually like 5 minutes or less video, just around one specific thing that has to do with teams, leadership, communication, etc. Next week is Angry Conversations in Your Head, and then next Thursday we'll be talking about taking that and some Ask Me Anything questions. We didn't get to anything today that wasn't the topic in terms of Ask Me Anything, but we will. Thank you, Norman. It's great to see you. Michelle, Esmeralda, Julia, thanks for stopping in. Cynthia, great to see all of you. I love to see familiar faces on this. So thank you. Have a great week. You're wonderful. Hopefully you can get your leaders and managers to stop micromanaging. And if you are a leader, for God's sake, stop doing it. Don't do it to people. Find another way. Okay, you're wonderful. I love you guys. Bye.